Yo, what's up, guys? Hope everyone's had a wonderful weekend. This is episode 3. Eventually, hopefully, I won't be having to keep up with the episodes because it'll be like 1,900 and something. But anyway, guys, I'm super stoked for the guests that we have on today. This dude has been, I don't even know where to start, to be honest. He's been a huge inspiration in my life. He's been someone who's just inspired me in so many different ways. He's really poured into my life, and I'm just thankful that we've grown close. But anyway, I want to introduce to you guys the legend, the one and only Mark Baldwin. He's the owner of Renegade Supply Company, and yeah, this is the man.
What's up, brother? What's up, guys? I think that you've hyped me up just a little bit too much. I think that's an awful big shoes to try to fill right out of the gate, brother. There's no such thing as legends sitting on this side of the camera, that's for sure.
Nah, dude, you're a legend, bro.
Nah, man. Maybe in someone's mind, but definitely not very many people's. But definitely not my own. But I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, dude, absolutely, man.
Yeah, we climbing. We're trying. You know, I mean that kind of is the goal. You know, is to sort of be remembered as somebody who was impactful. So, you know, maybe one of these days. But we're just getting started. So. But yeah, dude, thanks for having me. I'm stoked to be here and to sit down on this thing. You know, it's cool doing everything with you, and this is just another thing, man.
It's like one of those on top of it. You know?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I love it. You know, yeah, like we talk about often. Like it all sort of like creates this one big ball of energy, you know, and like we're just throwing into it, and you know, and it's all working. It's cool.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, yeah, I definitely appreciate you having you on here. And for those of you who are tuning in, who are listening in the future, you hear of Renegade a lot. Obviously, you see me always wearing it. This is the brand that I'm a part of, that I'm helping create and move along. So it's super awesome to have Mark here. We have some great stuff we're going to dive into, just a little bit about the brand and his life, his journey, some different things that a lot of challenges that he's faced. So super excited to get into this thing. So yeah, let's just out the gate, man. I want to kind of hear from your angle where you were at when we met, kind of how we met, any impressions of me from school or whatever.
Yeah, so actually I would have been that probably would have been like first day of football practice your freshman year.
Yeah, probably.
Or maybe sometime during the summer. Either way, yeah. Like I met like a 14-year-old Wes, you know, just as an athlete, because you know, I used to do a little coaching and I was Wes's football coach, and so that's where we initially met, you know, and he played, you know, you played ball all through school, and you know, so we stayed pretty tight with all of that, and I think I was your U.S. history teacher and your civics teacher. So you know, I saw
appreciate
Wes
the
in the
passing
classroom.
grades.
Yeah. Well, dude, I didn't give out passing grades. Like passing grades were earned. I wasn't one of those teachers.
No, 100%.
That just shoot people through. Now, you had to really try to fail my class, I think, because most stuff was like open note tests, like just take the notes, you can use them. Sorry.
Nah, you're good.
I'm experiencing a little phlegm here all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's how it goes. It's the camera's on, the mic's hot.
Oh yeah, for certain. So that would have been where you know, where our relationship started, was in a coach, athlete, a teacher student capacity. And you know, one thing that I'll always say is, one, you were crazy athletic for your size, because you've got like a bigger frame, and most like high school kids that had a frame like you have can't move. Yeah. And you moved exceptionally well, so you had like a level of athleticism that a lot of kids your size didn't have, and you were super duper strong. And inside the classroom, you were a little bit lazy, but you kept everything fresh and light. Like you knew when to drop a joke. You knew when, you know, but you didn't. At least in my class, you didn't push it too far. Now I'm sure that you all have, you know, I'm sure that you recall times when
absolutely.
You were exceptionally turdish in class.
Yeah, 100%, dude.
But yeah, definitely not in my class. Like I didn't feel that way at all. I felt like, and maybe because it was I was your coach, that there was like a respect thing there.
Yeah.
and so you didn't show out in my class, but you had a lot of energy in the hallways, and you seem to be very well liked. You were a popular dude.
Funny.
Friends with everybody.
Try to be, man. Try to be, bro.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
That's awesome, man. So yeah, that's guys, that's kind of how, that's where our history, no pun intended, started, was back in those times. And just to kind of, let you guys know how we kind of got reintroduced. I mean, obviously we've kept up with each other through the years, just with your journey and you kind of with mine. And, so I guess it was like, I don't know, I guess it's been about 3 or 4 years ago, probably 4 years ago, maybe, or 3 or 4, when we kind of launched, or when you first launched the brand, or you were about to. And that's when you reached out to me and was like, yo, you want to do some product photos for me? And I feel like that was, I don't know, man, like I remember personally that day, like, I don't know, because it was like we finally got to catch up, right, for the first time in years, of life and, both of our journeys. So I remember just hearing everything, and I knew you had the t-shirt company, and I knew like you were doing that, but to like actually like hear about the brand itself and the story behind it, like I just remember like us automatically like meshing and clicking, and it was like, yo, dude, like I don't know, man, sure. It just felt like, dude, I don't know how to explain it, man. It was just like, this is awesome.
It was like there was a spark from the very first conversations that we had about it, and honestly, I knew you personally. I knew what you were trying to do. I had seen the work that you had done, like on a professional level.
Yeah.
And when I needed photos done, I was like, well, I'm calling Wes.
Yeah.
So I was reaching out to you to try to just get some product photos. And then 3 years later, like here we are, and like this thing has grown into something that I really couldn't have imagined, and definitely like our relationship, our personal relationship is it's a lot closer than I could have dreamed. So I'm definitely glad that I reached out to you and was like, hey, I need some freaking photos, man.
Yeah, dude. So what, I don't know, man, I definitely remember, seeing like your first run of t-shirt designs too for the brand. I've never seen anything like it in the sense of no one doing it. Like this is just different, especially like in the area we're in. So I just remember being super hyped, and I just remember, I don't know, just the passion I had from not even really being a part of it in a sense, like to now is pretty wild to kind of look back on.
Yeah, I just really wanted to put out something that was cool, and honestly, we live in such a small place that there's not a whole lot of people that are actually like trying to do like cool creative things, and I'm not really taking a shot, but like there just wasn't anybody who was doing anything like what we're trying to do here. Yeah. And so it's definitely unique to the area, but I think that what we're working on building, and I'm sure that we'll get into it a little bit more later, but what we're working on building is like super duper unique,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Even not to just here, but like, I don't know of anybody that's actually doing anything quite like it. I'm sure that there are other brands, but they're doing it like with a very targeted market, and ours is just very open, I feel like.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. So yeah, guys, that's kind of like how we met. That's somewhat of the backstory of how our relationship started, and now like this dude's one of my brothers. He's definitely, I have a small circle in general, and this guy is definitely someone who, again, always has my back and just inspires me and keeps me in check. So I'm super grateful for him. And yeah, that's just kind of the smaller version of things, but the kind of transition into more about you, essentially. Maybe talk a little bit about how you grew up, kind of how home life was, and then kind of leading into the first career that you had of being a teacher.
Yeah. So growing up, I grew up on a really, really small tobacco farm here in Northwest North Carolina. And it was really, really hard strapped. Like we grew tobacco, but both of my parents were factory workers. So they worked there 6:30 to 3:30. They picked us up from the babysitters. We went home and we went to the tobacco fields. And you were in the field or the barn until 9 o'clock at night or whatever. And so it was a really like a busy life, but one that was definitely like very work driven. So, and honestly, as a kid, I was super lazy. Like I wasn't interested in working, and I think that a lot of kids probably are, but I mean, I remember like faking like so much sickness just to try to get out of like work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like every single time that my dad needed me to do something physical as a kid, I was like, oh, but I got a tummy ache, you know?
I'm conveniently all of a sudden sick.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was kind of a soft kid. And I think that it was just because my parents like sheltered me from so much.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I mean, we didn't have a whole lot of money, but my parents did work really hard. And no one in my family had been to college. So it was like very early on, like pressed upon me that I had to go to college.
Yeah.
That I had to be the first person to go to college. Like, you know, you have to be the one to spoil the curse or whatever. You know, you got to be the first Baldwin to go to college, whatever.
Yeah.
So there was like this pressure to like do good academically, which, you know, I did okay in school and didn't really have to try very much, honestly, like through high school.
What's up, Frosty? Appreciate you hopping in, man.
And, you know, so I kind of just breezed through school and kind of did my own thing, you know, like I was a pretty lazy student too, because I didn't really have to study. And I went to college to get a degree to be a teacher because I don't know, I thought that that's what I needed to do. I wanted to coach, and I just felt like, I don't know, I wanted to stay around where I grew up and sort of be impactful. And I wanted to coach. I think that I wanted to coach football more than anything. More than I wanted to teach, I wanted to coach. And I think that that's a big reason why I ended up not sticking with it, is because once the coaching wasn't appealing to me anymore, then the teaching really wasn't appealing to me, because that was not why I wanted to be there anyway. So, you know, I went to school. I actually, while I was in school, I threw around the idea of changing my career, and actually going to like heavy equipment school with a buddy of mine, and my parents like completely nixed it. You're not doing that. You got to finish this degree. You got to be a teacher, blah, blah, blah. So I finished the degree. I took my sweet time. I enjoyed college, but that's for another episode.
The scenic route.
Yeah, the scenic route. Yeah. You know, doctors.
Yeah, right.
Some doctors went to school less than I did.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
or for a shorter period.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so and then, you know, I was able to get a job in the next county over, which is how I, you know, where I live now and how I met you. I couldn't land a job back at the school where I went, but you know, it turned out that was kind of like a blessing, because I've made so many connections over here, and like I really feel like this is a place that I'm supposed to be. But yeah, so then I jumped into a teaching career, man, and I loved it for a little while, but then it just really started to like, I think that I wanted to teach so that I could coach, and coaching, I loved it out of the gate. You know, it was everything that I wanted it to be. I was the coach that was like grabbing people by the face mask and headbutting.
Oh yeah, 1,000%, dude. You were that guy.
I mean, like I was the hype man on the sideline.
Yeah,
dude. Like
for sure.
You know, people would tell me that like they would get out of their cars in the parking lot and they could hear me yelling from the sideline.
Yeah.
You know, like I was definitely like, if there was a coach that might have been doing drugs, like it was me, but I wasn't
this
doing
guy.
drugs.
That's you know,
but I wasn't doing drugs. Like I used to
that
get
passionate
so
about it
up before games, man. I loved it. But then the culture of like athletes and parents and like the whole sport just started to change. And when that happened, I had to walk away from it. And when I walked away from it, like I said, I think that really spoiled teaching for me, because I didn't enjoy the teaching side of it as much as I enjoyed the coaching side of it. And then when I lost the coaching side of it, it was like,
hey,
this is not enough. This is not enough to keep me here.
I am not rocking with that makes sense, man. And that's you know, and everything happens for a reason, obviously. But it's crazy how like you were pushed in that direction, and then to like come to find out, like, you know, all this time wasn't really what you're supposed to be doing. But again, you know, everything happens for a reason. What's up, Hatchet? Appreciate you hopping in, brother. Hope you had a good week.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, like, I never dreamed that I would be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know? And it did feel like what I was supposed to be doing. But looking back at it now, I realized that I was not very good at it. Or I don't feel like I was as good at it as I should have been.
Yeah.
Like, you and I have had the conversation that, like, knowing your home life now, knowing what you were living through. And like, there were things that I probably should have saw, but I was just oblivious to it because that wasn't the things that I was caring about. But like, if you're going to be a good, solid, like if you're going to be a great teacher, a great educator, you got to have eyes for that kind of thing.
Do they, do they teach on that a lot? Like, I feel like that's something just maybe, I don't know. I feel like it's hard to, like you said, like catch it off the cuff unless you are either taught it or if you have so many years, in it, and then you kind of adapt and learn to identify it. Like, I mean, obviously, like they probably have some conversations about it, but I mean, did they go in depth with like, hey, if you notice people like this or whatever, like they probably, are this at home or whatever?
I mean, like there's, they touch on that kind of stuff, but it's not something that they like really hammer at. And I feel like it's something that they should really hammer at, because for a lot of kids, like school's the only place they feel safe, And so, I think that it's something that they should really stress, to look for those things, because a lot of times the kids won't tell you, you got to pry it out of them. But it is something that probably needs to be said in most cases, It just wasn't for me where I was at in my life, man. I just had other priorities, and my priority did not align with what I should have been prioritizing as a teacher, And I don't know, for that reason, like you say, everything happens for a reason. So, I mean, the stars did line up exactly the way that they were supposed to when they were supposed to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I think that I just needed to see that it wasn't for me,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I gave it a try. I did care, I'm not over here trying to pretend like I didn't try to do a good job, but I think that I could have done better, I guess is what I'm getting at,
Not for sure. Like you said, you're where you're supposed to be, and you made a lot of connects along the way, obviously, in doing that. And obviously too, like, we talk a lot, now, and like a part of what the brand is, being able to identify and like really honing in on that and being that support that, you couldn't identify, years ago. So again, everything happens for a reason. So what did, going from that, talk about kind of the journey, like what got you started with the screen printing, how that business came about. I know the story, but obviously for viewers' sake.
Yeah, sure. So, I just got really frustrated with teaching and decided that I was going to do something to try to get out of teaching. And that something like manifested itself in a need to go back to school. And so I went back to get a master's degree in business, because I was like, I'm not going to teach anymore. I want to transition to a job that I thought that I could just make more money at, because I mean, at the time I felt like all jobs are probably equally miserable. There are things that you're going to love about it, but there are things that you're going to hate about it. So I'm just going to try to find a job that I think I can tolerate at a place that probably treats their people decent and that can make more money, because at the end of the day, I didn't like teaching and it didn't pay worth anything. So, we were really struggling. My ex-wife and I at the time were really struggling to like, keep up financially on this teacher pay. Plus we were hating our lives. And I was like, I've got to do something to like, advance myself financially, if nothing else. Like if I'm going to continue to work for the man, so to speak, which nothing had entered my mind about being self-employed at this point. So, I was just looking to make more money, So I enrolled in grad school to get a master's in business administration, and started applying to like all the like utilities companies, Lowe's corporate offices, Appalachian State, just for all these different jobs. And I couldn't even get an interview.
That's insane, dude.
I mean, I had a degree, and I had plenty of experience working with the public. I mean, all of my professional career was like public, like working in grocery stores, working in retail, like it's all dealing with the public. So, but they won't hire anybody, like this is one of those double-edged swords of the workforce, is that you can't get hired if you don't have any experience. Well, you can't get experience if nobody will hire you.
Exactly.
So, So it was really frustrating. I couldn't even get an interview, like I think that if I could have gotten an interview or two, I could have at least proven that I was a competent individual and maybe somebody would have taken a chance on me.
Yeah.
But I couldn't even get an interview.
Couldn't even sell yourself. Like,
yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, man. But so I just got really frustrated and I started thinking about like, well, what are some other things that like maybe I could do? And honestly, I have always had this like draw towards graphic tees. And I thought, like I knew some buddies who had worked in screen printing shops. They didn't run their own, but they worked for people. And so I ring them up, and talk to them a little bit and kind of pick their ear. And, I decided that, hey, I think that maybe I could do this, and I knew nothing about it. I didn't even know how graphics went on t-shirts.
Yeah.
And honestly, I didn't spend my time YouTubing it, trying to figure out how it was working. I spent more time trying to figure out, like, talking to people to see, like, for them to let me know, like, if they think it's a viable option, like they worked for a print shop that probably did $1 million worth of business down in Hickory. So, they thought it was a pretty viable option. They're popping out plenty of t-shirts.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So I thought, what, like, let's start researching this and do a little, see if we can figure something out. And I got a dollar amount for what I could get equipment for, and just decided to take a chance on that. And honestly, I started it out as almost like a hobby that I thought that maybe I could eventually turn into a revenue stream, but I didn't really like plan on walking away from teaching. Like, I was definitely invested in teaching for a few more years. My plan was to do this in hopes that maybe one day it takes off, but I'm gonna keep applying to these other jobs and until I land something, and then hopefully this screen printing thing becomes like a fallback plan. So that was sort of like where the transition from teaching to screen printing came. And I was able to like buy the equipment. We got some financing, buy some equipment, set it up in my basement, and then I like had to teach myself how to screen print.
Yeah.
And that was a terrible frustration because I ruined much stuff.
And that's
and the terrible part about it was I had no money.
Yeah.
Ding, ding. I had no money. Yeah, it was just like red every piece that I messed up, which might only be $2, but that was $2.
That's up, especially when you don't have it.
Absolutely,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
And I guess, like, I don't know, people, I feel like if you don't really break it down, you don't really, I guess think about it. Yeah, it is crazy how you can't do anything. Like, you have to nail it every single time. Yeah. Like every shirt that or any piece of apparel that you stitch or print, it's just like you got to get it right, and if not, then boom, that's $10. Boom, that's
Oh yeah,
that is crazy, dude.
Yeah, and dude, I've made expensive mistakes, man. Like, people have brought me Under Armour sweatshirts that I've screwed up. Those are like $60 or $70 screw.
Yeah,
and that's a hard pill to swallow.
Especially when you're trying to, like, you're already, I'm sure. Did you like what? Points of doubt did you face, like, in the beginning, because you're already kind of miserable with teaching or like trying to get out of that, and you kind of have this idea that you're investing in, and it's like, I'm gonna make this work, but then like realizing like the process and how much time it really takes to master that craft, like I can't even begin to imagine how many times you're just like, dude, this isn't it, like this.
Well, dude, I'm sure that I think it's the same thing for everybody who tries to do anything. Like, I'm sure that you could look back at like at the first pictures that you ever took, and you're like, what
first
the heck?
wedding, yeah. I'm like, how'd I get paid for that?
Exactly. Okay, so it's the same. It's the same principle, and it's the same exact thing that everybody goes through when you're trying to learn a new trade, man, or a new skill, just in general. Like, you're gonna screw up, you're gonna fail. Like, you just try to minimize that.
Yeah.
You have to understand that there's a learning curve and that you're going to screw some stuff up. And sometimes it's a lot of stuff. But there was definitely moments where I thought, maybe I'm not meant to do this, because we were, there were times when I would ruin whole boxes of shirts,
Gosh.
I remember one time, like, probably 100 shirt order, 80 shirts. And back then, I mean, those are still sizable orders for our company now, but like back then, those were huge. You know, like I was working alone in my basement, like me down there by myself from 7 p.m. until I get done at 1 a.m., like whatever it is. And, you know, I ruined like 75 shirts. The ink just didn't get dry. Like the temperature wasn't up high enough on the dryer, and they fell in on top of one another.
Yeah.
And they just like left this ghost image, one after another, after another, after another. And I was so busy that I wasn't going back to check it. So like, you know, there were definitely moments like that where it was very, very trying. You know, there were things that like setting up like my very first like multicolor jobs, like I had no idea what I was doing, you know?
Yeah.
And I was kind of working with like rudimentary equipment because the printers that I was working with back then were like crappier than what I'm using now. So I was washing screens in my back driveway, like, and it might be literally, it might be snowing outside, and if I've got to have screens, I'm out there washing screens. So, dude, it was, you know, there was a whole lot of obstacles. You know, like it was really something that I just had to want to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
It had to matter because if it
yeah.
didn't matter, it was in the basement, you know? So like it was easy to forget about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those
true.
like
tucked away,
put it in a closet and forget about it, you know?
Yeah.
And at the time, like I'm sure that we'll talk about this a little bit too, but I think now's a good time to introduce like where the idea of like a brand came from. You know, at the time I was doing this like what's the Insanity. We were doing Insanity. Do you remember those workouts?
Yeah.
And so I had lost like 30 pounds, and I thought, you know, like let's motivate people. Like let's use a t-shirt. You know, I've got the equipment now. Like let's use a t-shirt to like motivate people. And so that's where the initial like brand thought came from. And initially I was going to call it The Beast Within.
I remember I learned about that like a year ago.
Yeah. I initially was going to call it The Beast Within, and my business license for forever actually said The Beast Within.
Because that's what I saw at the shop one day. I was like, dude, what is this? Like, is you guys secret business I don't know about?
Yeah, no. I mean, I wrote. I've got a letter where they changed it and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that was the initial thought was, you know, and it was like, it was unleash the beast within, you know, like we've all got this fire inside of us. You just got to find it and like figure out a way to ignite it. And so that was it. That's where the idea for a brand started. And all the while I'm down there like ruining stuff.
Yes. A different kind of beast from ruining t-shirts.
Yeah, dude, just throwing money away. You
Yeah.
know, like I had it. And literally I didn't have it, you know. I was still teaching, but honestly, by the end of the month, like, I mean, we were living pretty much paycheck to paycheck, you know, like we didn't have a whole lot of money left to do much with. And the funding that I was able to get just barely covered my costs. So I didn't have a whole lot of extra as far as like the business loan either. So it was, you know, it was trying times for a bit.
Oh, I can't. I mean, and obviously like I know a lot of the story, but for our viewers, you know, it's, you know, I know personally the struggles and how far you've came, man. And you know, whoever's listening, just know like if you have an idea or something, don't be scared to do it. You know, it's going to be testing. It's going to push you to its limits, and it's going to want to knock you down and scream failure and all this other stuff in your face. But you just got to push through the adversity, and if you want it bad enough, you can make it happen.
For sure.
Absolutely. How did so like obviously that's the transition of like trying to get this thing going, but how was it going when you finally like broke through and made the decision like, hey, this is it, like I'm opening my own shop or whatever? What was that transition kind of going from working for somebody else to entrepreneurship? Like how hard was that? Obviously like you have the freedom, but with that entrepreneurship, you got to be very self-disciplined, you got to be organized. Like there's a lot of things. Like what struggles did you kind of stumble with that?
Yeah, so when I decided that I was leaving teaching, so I actually left my teaching position at the high school where I was working with with kids like Wes, coaching. I stepped away from track, and then I was just teaching. And then after one more year of teaching, I decided to take a PE job, and the PE job was at a kindergarten through 8th grade school, the same school that I went to, super small school, really, really small community. I thought maybe I can go and do this and this will save my teaching career. Because again, I wasn't having any success on job interview front.
Yep.
And so I went and did that. And by about October, dude, those little kids almost killed me. Like they almost buried me. I was definitely not cut out
for this. That's so funny.
For the littles, man.
Yeah.
And so like I was just so unhappy, but I rode out the rest of that school year. And my ex-wife and I talked, and I was like, I just don't think that I can go back there. And I couldn't go back to the high school because they had already filled my position clearly a whole year. And so I was like, you know, I'll see if I can't print more jobs, because by this point I'd been doing it for a little while and I had learned quite a bit. I still wasn't good, but we were getting more right than we were getting wrong. You know what I mean? So
60-40, let's go.
Yeah, dude, some improvement. So I just decided to I could substitute teach. You know, now mind you, I'm still in school. I'm still in grad school at this point. I got like a year left of grad school. And that's another thing that I always try to tell people is people always say they don't have time. You know, I don't have time to pursue this, or I don't have time to seek a hobby that I could turn into something somewhere down the road. I was teaching full time. I was coaching 2 sports where I didn't get home till 8 o'clock, you know, sometimes 9, 10 o'clock. I was trying my best to run what little bit of a business I had going. And I was a full-time grad student. So everybody says I don't have time. Time is you make time, you know, you figure it out. That's why I always preach hustle and grind. I don't do it so much now, you know, I might be in the bed, tonight's going to be late for me, you know, I'm usually winding down about right now. So I'm just going to try to stay awake during this stream. But you know, I usually turn in early now, but back in the day, man, you've got to burn the candle at both ends, you know?
Absolutely, man.
So, I could substitute teach, make a fair amount of money, and that would give me time while I was substituting to do my homework. So basically all the substitute teaching is babysitting. You walk in, you give them an assignment, you tell them to sit down, shut up. You just make sure they don't kill each other.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And you can make $120 a day if you're a certified teacher. And I was like, well, I mean, that's not terrible, you know, and you could work quite a bit. And so I just walked away on my 34th birthday, I think it was, during the summer. I just decided I can't do this anymore. I walked into the principal's office, dropped my keys on his desk. I apologized to him. I said, I appreciate the opportunity to work here. I said, but this just ain't for me. And I walked into the unknown. You know, I knew that I could substitute teach. I knew that I could make $110, $120 a day, whatever it was. But I think even back then they could only work you 3 days a week. There was something about insurance or something.
Yeah.
So I could work 3 or 4 days a week, but you know, I really knew that I had to start pouring into the business. I had to start doing more. And so it allowed me to, and somehow man, this whole thing has grown very naturally, sort of at the pace that it's supposed to, honestly. Because when I made that move, it was stuff just fed me, you know. It was awesome. Work just showed up. It was the universe was just granting me this opportunity, you know, okay, so here you go, big boy, let's see what you can do with it. And so I guess from summer until February, it gained enough steam that I felt decent about doing it, you know, a lot, you know, full time maybe. And I had an opportunity to buy a ladies' embroidery shop. You know, I was just screen printing t-shirts in my basement. That's all that I had done, invested to that point. But I had a chance to buy an embroidery shop, and you know, I had people asking me because hats and t-shirts, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with businesses.
And, yeah, I mean, I had people asking me left and right, and I just didn't have the capabilities. So it seemed like a good opportunity. She was willing to work with me and do some owner financing, and I rolled the dice, man, and walked away even from substitute teaching just to do my own thing. And and it was a teeny tiny little shop, man, and it didn't have any air conditioning. And dude, that first place it was like working in the mines, dude.
Yes.
It was hot
All
in
right,
there,
honey.
brother.
That's so funny, dude. I didn't
Yeah,
know
dude.
that. No AC. It's like
No AC.
we're really gonna test you. How about this
It
building with
had
no
one
AC?
little window in the back of it, like a little, I don't know, maybe 12 by 12 window, and the front door. And I would open that window and open the front door just to get a
Get a little
tiniest little bit
draft.
across.
Yeah, dude. That's
And
crazy.
dude,
I didn't know that.
in between the flash dryer and the dryer, it gets really hot. Like if you're standing there actually pushing paint all day, that's a hot job.
Yeah.
And dude, I know that it would get like 110 degrees, 105 degrees in there some days.
That's crazy, especially during the summer.
Yeah, dude, it was nuts.
Yeah,
it was nuts.
Cow. I never
hated
knew that.
job. I went from the basement, and you know how cool basements are. I went from the basement to that sweat box, dude. It was terrible.
That's freaking crazy. I had no idea.
Yeah, I was
had
like,
no AC.
what did I do?
That's the real. Yeah, that was the test, man. You went from chilling, having a job like that to where at least guaranteed income, and then all right to the sweatshop. Here we go.
Yeah, and even though like you say, even though teaching, that paycheck wasn't much, at least I knew what I was getting.
Yeah. Jeez, man.
I knew what I was getting. It's almost like just stepping off of a ledge, man. You just
It's like, all right, here we go. Hopefully the parachute opens. Like.
Yeah, but I mean, I knew that it was like it wasn't a sink or swim situation. It was a swim or swim situation.
Yeah, I got no choice here. Like I'm going to swim.
Dude, I don't have a safety net here. Like I've gotta make it work.
And I feel like that's what I mean, me personally, and I'm sure a lot of people. It's hard to take that leap because the unknown is scary. The change is scary. I mean, for me to go to full-time entrepreneurship and like chasing down, everything that I'm trying to, like, especially, got kids and everything involved, man. Like it was a big step, dude. So I can only imagine.
That's another level of stress too, dude. I didn't have kids to worry about,
Yeah.
And so that's a whole nother element that you have to consider.
And I guess it's kind of weighted on both ends. Like you obviously have the stress and like the responsibility, but at the same time too, like I also was looking at like their future, and I knew that if I could make what I'm doing work, or at least like this be the first stepping stone to what they can inherit or what they can take on later down in life, and not have to be in the position that I was in, being a slave basically for a corporate company that you're a number, so that was like the balance, Brooke and I was trying to balance, man, was like, hey, it is scary, and it's still hard sometimes. There's still months where you're like, all right, like we got to book up and do our thing, but then it's like on this end, like just seeing how far we've come too with it, and we know like, hey, if we just keep putting in, we keep being consistent, we talk about a lot, it's going to be worth it, because this is something that we're building, at least for them to launch themselves from.
Oh, for sure. And you're right, man. You got to be consistent. You got to be persistent. You got to realize that it's a long haul thing, man.
It's swim. There is no sink, like you said, dude. It's all swim.
Swim or swim, dude. It's swim or swim.
The only time in your life you knew how to swim.
That's it. Might be the only one that I ever need. Hopefully, it's the only one that I ever need.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We may have just nailed down a new T-shirt idea: swim or swim.
Yeah, swim. Swim or swim. That's it. Swim over swim. Perfect. Dude, how did so like transitioning into like entrepreneurship, how is kind of fast forward to like current day, how has being an entrepreneur changed your life, and like what have you learned from that you apply to your everyday life now, and the perspectives you've kind of gained from it?
So I really think that like I underwent like a serious, almost like personal change when I became like a full-time business owner, because I just felt like my mentality changed in a lot of ways. I knew that I had things to worry about that I didn't worry about before. I had responsibilities that I wouldn't really have considered before. You know, like I was kind of a lazy person, sort of. You know, like I came home from work and I would sit on the couch and watch TV, or I would go play Xbox. You know, like I didn't do a whole lot. And then like I had to be inspired. Like I had to like work, you know, like from the moment that I decided I was going to do this, like I had to turn on a switch where I was like, okay, like now we got to go. And so like all of that, you know, like it just sort of seemed to happen. And I think that it just sort of seemed to happen out of like necessity, you know?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, there's definitely, like you said, there's no room, like with teaching or like any job that, I mean, you're not going to get fired unless you do something stupid. So it's like if you show up, you kind of do what you got to do to get by, and then you clock out. Like you're good.
You can crew.
Yeah,
you can
but
crew.
with, I mean, for especially like making the jump, and now like you're trying to do this thing, and this is like you said, it's swim or swim here. So yeah, there's no room to come home when you're sitting on a, you know, $2,000 t-shirt order that needs to be done, and you got to pay bills. Yeah. To just kind of like, I'm gonna watch, you know, I'm gonna binge watch Netflix or something.
Yeah. No, I definitely turned into like almost like a workaholic, probably.
Yeah.
You know, where it became obsessive to me that if I had an order to be working on, I felt like I needed to be working on it. You know, to the point where it was like, you got to be at the shop. You know, like I was definitely at the shop a lot more than I was home, I feel like. Because after I, you know, at one point in time, the shop was the house.
Yeah.
So it was really easy for me to like be there, you know, because it was literally walk downstairs. But after I moved it to you know, to a full retail space, then it became, you know, like now you've got another obstacle, because now you got to get there, be, you know, or just stay, work super late, like do whatever. I don't know, man. It really turned me into like this workaholic, just because I knew that like I didn't have a safety net. Like I couldn't fail. So I had to figure out a way to make it work. And that was you know, like if I get presented the opportunity with an order, like get the order done as quickly as you can. So order it now. When the shirts get here, as soon as they're here, let's get them knocked out as soon as we can, you know? And I was trying to teach myself how to embroider too. So I was like also going through this like new learning phase, you know, having to learn a brand new skill. And dude, the embroidery machine is still like my kryptonite. Like that thing, you see, you know, you see it when you're there working, dude. It's like, it can, some days it's like the smoothest operator in the world. And some days it's like, every time you walk away from it, it's like a needy child.
Yeah, dude. That's crazy. Yeah. I guess like, I don't know, like I feel like probably that transition, like that workaholic, because it was finally like something you were truly passionate about too, you know? Like I know for me, I mean, I've always kind of been pretty grindy, but I know when I started seeing money, you know, enter my bank account or my hand, that like I made this, like here's my profit from this hard work, man. Like that changed it. Like that's an addiction, man.
I think so. Yeah. No, I feel like, and that may be what caused it. You know, it may have only been like one or two orders. You know, because honestly, like for us, you know, I don't want to talk too much like numbers, but you can turn a pretty good profit on a t-shirt. You know what I'm saying?
No, for sure.
And so like for what they cost wholesale versus what you can, you know, print something on it and provide it to an individual. And if you can do that really quickly, you can definitely turn some money real quick, you know? And so there definitely was those moments where I was like, oh shoot, you know, like, okay, then let's stay at the shop and let's knock out two more.
Exactly, man.
You know?
Which again, like obviously, you know, starting out, and that's for anything in life, man, like especially a business like this, you have to be prepared to put in some, you know, some work. You have to sacrifice a little bit, but again, like the payoff, like already you're not working for someone else. So even though you're pulling a 12-hour day, guess what? You're doing it on your terms. And then
you get to start it when you want to. You
exactly,
know what I mean?
dude.
Not everybody's a morning person. Like, I always started my work day at 10, you know, which the shop still opens at 10, but I'm up by 6:30 at least now.
Yeah.
But like, you get to set your own hours. You get to work when you want to. I mean, there's a lot of good to it. There's a whole lot of benefit to it, but there's also a whole lot of responsibility to it.
Yeah.
There's definitely a dark side that the public doesn't get to see unless they are entrepreneurs. Unless they are self.
No, absolutely, dude. And yeah, like you said, and they have no idea. And I feel like there's people, who can even be successful within like a normal job or something, who still just don't, like, it's just a different thing, and that's okay. Not everyone's, meant to be an entrepreneur, but it's definitely hard, unless you are just in it. It's definitely hard to understand a lot of things. Like
you can't,
even that dark side.
Yeah, you can't not be committed to it. Like, that's the thing. Like, if you're gonna try it, you have to be committed to it. You have to be all in, because I don't think that, and you don't always have to get it right. Like, quite clearly, like I was talking at the beginning about how much stuff I've screwed up.
Yeah.
We still screw up stuff every week. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to get it right more than not. And get better at it. Yeah. But you have to be persistent and just stay on it, man.
Yeah.
That's what it takes, and I think that's really what makes a difference in people who can be successful at it and people who struggle with it.
Yeah.
Like, if you get bored with stuff and you whatever, but man, it's so hard to get bored of it when you know that you're doing it for you.
Yeah. And like you said, this is how it creates a living for you,
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people, that self-discipline, or even some people just do better with direction. Some people just kind of like, hey, here's what you need to do today, or like make sure. And some people just, just do better with that, and that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it takes all kinds, like we honestly, we need all manner of workers.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I think that we're experiencing times right now where we're seeing where people, there are voids. It's harder to get people to come and work on things, or like whatever. Like, we need all kinds of workers. We don't need everybody to be entrepreneurs, like not everybody has it in them. But I just want to be a light to anybody who thinks that they might want to.
Yeah.
Or to help people maybe even realize, because I didn't realize that I even wanted to do
it. Because it definitely, it'll change your life, and we went last week and we spoke to a group of high schoolers, and like, we live this stuff every day, but it was really cool to just talk about it with these people who haven't made those decisions in life yet, so to be able to kind of plant that seed and, hopefully make them realize, like, hey, anything is possible. Like, if I want to do that, like, here's two nobodies who, are somewhat doing it,
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, and I really love getting the opportunity to do that for that reason. Like, if you inspire one kid to like take a chance on themselves and they become like successful, and they missed, they completely dodged having to pay for college, having to, like, all of the economic struggles, or the things that cause economic struggles in today's world. If they dodge all of that and jump straight into success, like, come on, man. Like, that's beautiful. Dude. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm after.
How is like from the learning stages of being an entrepreneur? Like, obviously, like, this is something you've lived out for the past like 10 years now, which is awesome. What things have you been able to apply to your personal life? Obviously, like, being an entrepreneur, like, you have responsibilities, and I feel like you said, you got to always be chasing it. You got to always be getting better. How has that improved? Like, what things have you applied to your life now that have, helped you be an entrepreneur, but also your personal life?
Yeah. So I think that, like, consistency is probably one of the most important things. Like, I try to live sort of like by a schedule, kind of, as closely as I can. Like, I'm not nearly as regimented as a lot of people are, but, like, I have things that I like to try to do at certain times and all that kind of stuff. And I try to do it every single day. You know what I mean? And I think that being consistent in the way that you approach business is very much the same. So you do things the same way every single time. Like, that's something that I think is, it is important. Patience, to me personally, has been something that, like, I've learned you have to have it in the business. And it is the one thing that, as far as my personal life goes, that has dodged me my entire life. But I think that I'm finally starting to get to a point where I feel good about having, like, a little bit of patience. You know, I've definitely still not mastered it by any means.
Oh,
but,
for sure, dude.
but the business, you know, like in business, sometimes you get super frustrated and you have to like bite your tongue. You have to remain professional. You have to do all these kinds of things. You know, you do have to be patient with customers. You can't just blow up on people, you know, like you'll completely ruin your reputation, especially in a small town, you know, like, can you imagine if we were to, you know,
I mean, you live by word of mouth, you know, in a small town. What's up, Devil? Thanks for hopping in. Hope you're doing well. So you know, it's just taught me to have patience, but I also know that like patience was something that I was struggling with in my personal life. So it's something that I've been trying to focus on as well. So do you think and I think a lot of people do, and it doesn't help the world we live in, like we've talked about it, the kind of instant gratification. Like I feel like we get pushed, like we see this perfect world and social media and everything else, so I feel like people definitely aren't as patient as maybe as they used to be, because again, like everything's at our hands. So if there's any inconvenience, we just like lose our mind, and I'm guilty of it, and obviously you are. Would you say like kind of how you grew up kind of played like a little bit of that, like maybe not learning? I know for me personally, like the environment I grew up in, it was just like instant like anger, like just kind of lose it, versus like taking a deep breath, like step back, evaluate the situation, and then like, let's tackle it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, you know, we were definitely a blow a fuse kind of family too.
And it's programmed, you know, and it's so easy because the easier thing to do is react on emotion or whatever, you know. But I've definitely with my kids especially, it's one that where I was like, I realize I have to chill out in general, but now it's just like, now I have these little spawns who I can give them this if I want, or I could just, all right, I gotta chill, and I want them to learn how to not, you know, do something dumb because this kind of silly event happened. It's always over something silly too. That's the funny part.
Oh yeah. And the sillier, the worse it is. It seems like, you know,
2000%.
Like the more minuscule the situation, like the worse the blow up. It seems like.
Yeah. Someone in the chat said, I'll admit some customers definitely suck. My small town knows all of our shops, but also each shop tells the others about the bad customers too. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it definitely goes both ways. And that's 100% true. You know, like there are customers that I just refuse to deal with now, you know, but when you first are starting out, like you have to
take everything.
You take everything and you bite your tongue and you know, but now there's people that like I just kind of straight up refuse to work with them.
Yeah. Which it's nice to.
There's not very many, you know. Like I'm not just being hard to get along with, like, but there just are some people that I'm like, you know what, like I can just never get it right. So let somebody else try, you know.
And that's you know, and working with the public, like you just have to know, and like you have to be able to identify. Everyone's different, you know. Like this.
Oh, for sure.
Talking to someone this way works, like, or they prefer this way, or like they communicate this way. So obviously, you know, you've learned that. I've had to learn that too, you know, in what I do, and just how like different clients, you can tell like what tier they are and like how you need to navigate certain things, or like how, you know, in sync you got to be, or how detailed you got to be, or whatever. And then some people, you have the extreme or they're super laxed, you know, and they definitely come with whatever. So mine is the only race car high performance shop, so I don't get a lot of them, but the others get the ones telling the person how to work on their car. If you're gonna tell me, then fix it at home.
Yeah, no doubt, dude.
Here's how you print a t-shirt. That's funny, dude.
Oh, dude, no, I've had people tell me like, you know, like you're putting the graphic in the wrong place or like whatever, and I'm like, what do you do for a living? Like, it's not what we do, you know? Like, I don't know. It's absurd to me that you can tell anybody how to do their job.
And that's just a way I think a lot of people just do that to pawn and feel better.
Control, kind of?
Yeah, I mean, I have people at weddings who are like, "Oh, shouldn't you put him here?" And I'm just like, no, like I do this for a living.
Yeah, my name's on the check.
This is gonna look good. Who are you? I don't know. That's for a different time too. We already did a podcast essentially. So
that was fun.
But real quick before we kind of transition, thank you everyone for hopping in. I appreciate all the support since this journey's kind of started. like I said, if you're in the chat hanging out and there's any questions you want to ask myself or Mark, feel free to do so. Again, the support means a lot, guys. And, the whole point of this thing is to just inspire you guys. Life gives us a bunch of challenges. And it's kind of like the motto of this thing, rising above the challenges of life. And hopefully by sharing my experiences and, the guests who are on this thing, hopefully we're able to impact you guys and just help like whatever situation you're dealing with, you're not alone. There's a lot of people who have, faced a lot of challenges as well. So my new rule is no customers allowed in the shop area for safety reasons. Yeah, that's a good one. Because again, people really will, like if you, especially in a shop or like, if people can walk and just stare over your shoulder, they will. So.
Oh yeah. Dude, I've had people just like come and stand beside the embroidery.
Yeah, I know.
I wish I wouldn't do that. That thing's only running at like 1,000 RPMs.
I know. That's it, dude. It is wild how people, personal space and stuff is kind of foreign. I don't know.
Yeah.
Social things are funny.
They are funny because they're so different. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, man, that's crazy. And hopefully, like I said, if you're listening, hopefully you feel inspired. Just hearing Mark's story of being, in this sucky job and not getting paid either. Because you said too, like you were in it for almost a decade of teaching, and they like cut off the raises and everything else. So, yeah, and you're living paycheck to paycheck. And that's the thing too about careers is like you can move up in some places, but a lot of them you're just kind of stuck. Like maybe at the end of it, you'll be making $5,000 more a year, but like you break that down, that's really nothing,
Yeah.
And so, if you have anything that you're trying to really take off or whatever, just know like it is possible. The fear is, I get it. There's a lot of unknowns, like, Mark saying, walking off a ledge, having no idea what's below, what's out there, but it's definitely worth it. So,
yeah.
If you find yourself doubting yourself, just take the leap. To be honest, you miss all the shots you don't take. It's one of my favorite things.
Amen. The GOAT, baby.
Yeah, dude, the one and only. R.I.P. But yeah, so to kind of like transition more into like some personal stuff, and I appreciate your openness to be able to talk about some of these things. But I know you went through a divorce, through all these things, and I know that was a really hard point in your life. Obviously, just trying to navigate career and all that. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the hardships of leading up to the divorce, or maybe where you were personally that led to that, or anything that you want to be vulnerable with or to kind of throw out there?
Yeah, sure. So I was married to actually like my high school sweetheart. Like we had sort of like the perfect small town love story, but eventually kind of what happened is I feel like neither one of us were great communicators. I won't speak for her. I'll take the blame. I was not a good communicator. I don't know that. I know that I was not. I'll say that. I know that that's something that I've struggled with, but I think that it's something that I've definitely gotten better at. But we just turned into different people, and we were together for so long. And I think that we were so young when we met, and, we would have spells where we were like off and on, like all through college and just kind of really rocky and whatever, but we always found our way back to each other. And, I think that it just felt like we were supposed to be married. And when trouble started to arise, like we just kind of swept them under the rug. We didn't really address them, because even if they were addressed, like we didn't address them, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of that probably is me to blame because I wasn't a good communicator. And so eventually it just, it became really, really fractured. And I was a different person because by this point we had kind of went full blown with the shop. And so I was working a lot, and I was, like my mentality was different. I had the swim mentality now, and I think that I just turned into a different person, and we weren't, we just grew apart, I think is what happened.
Yeah.
But it was very trying for me. It was definitely like one of the hardest times of my life, I would say, probably the hardest year of my life, definitely. Um, it took me a long time to like come to terms, I think, with the fact that it needed to be over. Ultimately, I was the one who made the call, I think. I think that she still wanted to like try to work on things, but for me personally, I don't think that I had any left in me, you know?
Yeah.
And so after, I guess, 9 years of marriage and like 18 years of being together, like we divorced. And it was definitely like the darkest of days, you know? Um, I fell into like a depressive state just because, and it wasn't because I even regretted what I was doing. I don't think that I looked back very much once I made the decision.
Yeah.
Like I think that I had a lot of peace with the decision. Maybe it was because it was the right thing to do. I don't know. But it was hard, you know, like it was hard to navigate after that. Like I had walked away from, you know, something that was so comfortable. And then all of a sudden my life is just completely on its top, you know? Here I am living this like perfect fairy tale love story where we're high school sweethearts. We both teach in the small town, you know, like this like picket fence kind of love story.
Yeah.
And then it's just like completely on its head and it's totally different. And it was just a lot to process. You know, there was a lot that changed in a short amount of time, and I'm sure that did not help the situation.
Well, I mean, I feel like any change is hard, you know, especially something so weighted, like especially you taking this huge leap with the shop stuff, and then next thing you know, like the last thing that, you know, was on your mind / you expected was just like boom, you know, here we go.
Yeah. And so I walked away from our house. You know, I let her keep the house. So she stayed there. I had to find somewhere else to be. I put a lot of the stress on myself, but you know, like I just felt as the man, like that was the thing that I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
I couldn't hardly like lay my head down if I had taken the home from her. You know what I mean?
Oh, 1,000%.
Just because I wasn't, you know, I just wasn't raised that way.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I went and lived with my cousin for a while, and that wasn't like super healthy for me, probably.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of alcohol, and I've not always had like the best relationship with alcohol.
Yeah.
I have stopped. Well, I haven't stopped, but I've definitely like slowed down, and I have a much healthier relationship now with alcohol than I've probably ever had in my life. But you know, I went through a dark period where I was drinking a lot, and you know, it just wasn't good for me. Like to be there with him wasn't very good because, you know, he has his own struggles with alcohol, and it just wasn't a very good place for me to be. So like I really struggled and went through, you know, a lot of depression. You know, I was trying to occupy my time, but it wasn't in the right ways, you know?
Yeah. Well, again, like at that time, and I'm sure a lot of you who are listening can relate. I think when big changes occur, when, you know, big things like that happen in your life, you know, losing an important job, losing a family member, a divorce, whatever it may be, you know, we always turn to something that's going to numb it instantly. You know, I think that's why a lot of people get pulled into, you know, doing this or that, is because it's able to kind of shield them from the reality that they're in. You know, and I understand that. I've been at that point in my life where I've definitely tried to like eliminate everything that I was going through. And unfortunately, time is the only thing that can heal that, you know, facing the reality you're in and letting time just kind of do its thing. And, you know, so I definitely understand that, like you said, that probably didn't help that you were around someone who had their own vices and, you know, was just trying to drown them out too with alcohol.
Yeah.
I
mean, like, we had like this close like brother relationship because he had actually lived with me. So, you know, like we did have a really, really good relationship, but
yeah,
he just wasn't. He's just not real healthy for me. You know what I mean?
And I feel like it's, and I've talked about this on another episode. It's so important with who you surround yourself with, even in the darkest times, because those people, we need those people to help pull us through. In reality, like some things you do got to kind of just like, you got to have moments where you sit down by yourself and you have to have that kind of alone time to process. But at the same time, you have to be surrounding yourself with healthy people, with people who are, not talking smack about whatever your situation is, but they're trying to just help you like stay grounded and keep moving forward, and who really have your back, not trying to like encourage bad behavior or add on to the weight you're already dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely have to have like good folks around you. It makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah. And like, even if you're not going through anything, that's why obviously like our relationship, man. And, I think that's one of the biggest things too of why we're so close, is because every single time like we're talking or whatever, like there's just beneficial gain. Like we're constantly lifting each other up and encouraging, like, and it's so important to have that in your life. So if you're struggling to find that, or if you find yourself just being weighed down, just evaluate, like try to step out, try to get a new perspective and look at the people that you're surrounding yourself with. Look at like the habits, look at what you're doing, because those things, they add up, and they will pull you down. There is no swimming there. Eventually there's sinking, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So obviously, there's a lot more within that, within going through divorce. But how was, I don't know, like overcoming that? Obviously, like you had the darkest times, but like coming out of that, and then you're engaged now with an awesome person, and I love her. But how is like that really shaped how you communicate and how you even manage like relationships now?
Well, so like it's kind of a strange story, and it almost doesn't even sound like it's honestly what happened. But I don't know if you remember or not, but you were actually bouncing at the bar, probably one of my worst nights ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I've brought this up to you. I don't know if you said you remembered it or not.
Yeah.
But it was my birthday. It was the night after I had told my ex-wife, like, we're done. And I was going through like some really, really bad stuff. And you and I had an encounter at the bar where you probably should have tossed me, but because I knew you, I'm sure that you let me stay. And I just fell like into these gloomy, like really, really few days. Yeah. And then just a couple of days after that, this girl walked into my shop, and like I'm not looking for anything, but because I'm, like I literally 5 days ago told, my ex-wife that I think that, like we're done. Now I had pondered on that decision for months and months and months, like, it wasn't like it was, 2 days or whatever.
Well, to kind of like, before you go forward, to kind of dive into that, cause I hear, there's a lot of people who that happens to, and I always try to like, in supporting that decision, I always try to get them to realize like, hey, yeah, it may seem, crazy, or like family members are telling you like this and that. And it's like, but like, if you go back and look, like you started disassociating yourself, like when things get rough, like you start pulling yourself away. So like, honestly, like obviously like you're still with them, whatever, but at the same time, like you're really like, you've disconnected, you know what I mean? So that's like always, I guess, my argument and support for people who, everyone is like, oh, well, it's so weird because you just got like no.
Yeah.
Like,
no, it really seems like it happened super fast.
Yeah.
But literally, she just came into my shop to buy a T-shirt, and she was super cute, and she had a smile, and she was nice to me.
Yeah. And
honestly, that's kind of what started it. A couple days later, she came back into the shop. She bought another T-shirt, and she asked me if I needed a friend, and that was kind of the beginning of our relationship. So like, honestly, after those like super darkest days, there was like this angel that showed up in my life.
That's so awesome.
And honestly, like it has been increasingly better from that moment.
Yeah. What's up, Clementine? Appreciate you hopping in. No worries.
It took like this drastic like change and this really, really dark turn, but then all of a sudden, like it took a fairly quick upswing, and I know that that's kind of unusual, but and I didn't really intend for it to be that way. Like I remember moments in the relationship, you know, when I was coming to the end where I thought, man, I got to be single for a while. You know, I mean, I'd been in a relationship for like 18 years. I was like, you know, I need to be single for a while. Like
time
I need
to live.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, like whatever. And then it just, you know, I mean, it happened so fast and it just seemed so right, you know.
Yeah.
And apparently it is. I mean, because she's awesome, you know, like my
1000%, dude.
Infinitely better since she's came into it. And man, I'm so grateful for her and like all of the things that I've gotten to experience because she came into my life, honestly. And it you know, looking back on it, like it doesn't seem like it probably should have happened that way, but it definitely seems like it's the way it was supposed to happen, man.
Nah, dude, that's exciting. And like, you know, obviously people are watching and listening, they don't know like the in-depth, you know, but like I see that, man, and like I know, you know, personally how impactful that has been, you know, and how it still is, dude. So, and that's the special thing about life, man, and that's why, you know, I love being married, because it's like you really have this person who, you know, just like you said, that smile, man, you know, it's just like it's so contagious, bro. And like even though we're butt heads sometimes, like at the end of the day, just having someone like that in our corner, man, who, you know, truly like ride or dies for you, man, that's good stuff, dude. So you talked a lot about communication, of why things kind of led up to the divorce. How have you kind of seen, and like I know I've seen it, but how has communication really progressed in your life, and how important is that to you in relationships, obviously, but just in general across the board?
Yeah. So like it took me a long time to realize that communication was probably what was the actual downfall of the previous relationship.
Yeah.
And so like I stayed in this stubborn state because, you know, I do think that it was modeled behavior. You know, like I never saw my parents have an argument. I never saw my parents have any sort of like disagreement about things. Like they would just super passive aggressive, you know, like separate rooms, walk out of the house, not talk for 6 hours, like maybe not talk for 2 or 3 days, you know. So like I just didn't learn any communication skills, honestly, is what I think that it boils down to. But it took me a long time to realize that was the problem, you know, in that last relationship. And so at the beginning of this relationship, like luckily Amy just loved the shit out of me. Because you know, because I mean I was a butthead.
No, for sure. That's so funny.
And honestly, like there's so many times that she should have given up on me, and because I still wasn't communicating and I still wasn't able to hear what she was saying.
Yeah. Communicating and listening. Definitely
dude, listening's part of the battle, you know, like, and you have to understand, like you have to be able to grasp what the other person's actually trying to tell you too, you know what I'm saying? So it took me a long time, you know, and I'm still a work in progress, but I'm definitely a lot better communicator now than I probably ever have been.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. And
I think that it's a pillar of relationships. Like I think that it's a top-notch like trait for anybody to have. Like I think that you need to be decent at communication. Like if you're not good at anything else, be able to sit down and talk about whatever.
Yeah, I agree, man. And it's like you said, it's so important. And again, a lot of it just comes from like what you see, you know. I don't know, man. It's the same thing for me. It's like just growing up in this chaotic, like, you know, if I can get louder than you, or like the passive crap, you know. And it's hard for people who grow up in that, and then, you know, they're not modeled any good, you know, communication, even like into workplaces. Like I look back and think of times, so like, you know, and because you have bad communication, like your fight or flight just, you know, like so many different things just come from that. And if you can't sit down and just have like a normal conversation or address, like, you know, even if it is a hard topic, like if you can't just healthily like approach it and, you know, just talk about it, man, it's definitely hard to navigate, especially in relationships.
Yeah. Dude, I definitely still get that like 0 to 100, that fight or flight, like that still like whips me.
Yeah. No, dude,
it's still something that I deal with.
Dude, it's and I think a lot of it's just again, like just what you grow up in. And I think that's just how, like, it's hard for me, man, because there's some times where I'm just like, dude, I can just put a dagger into my wife right now. Like, I can just say this and she's done, dude. Or I'm in this situation and someone says something, boom, I'm boiling, you know, like that adrenaline, like you just start getting, you know, like just unleveled. And yeah, that's been a battle for me, just because that's all I saw, dude. I never saw, like, you know, calmly talking about things, and, you know, it's just like this instant rise, dude, of like, you know. Yeah, it is.
Me too. Yeah,
it's hard, man, and you know it. And it's like sometimes it's involuntary. Like, there are moments where I just like react, and it's just like, dude, that was so dumb. Like, but
oh yeah,
it just happens.
Instant, like, God, what am I doing? Like,
yeah,
knucklehead.
Yeah. No, I had you know, just being transparent, I had a moment the other day where I just kind of like snapped on you know, on my daughter for a minute, and like I instantly, dude, like it came out, and, you know, I got angry, and it was just like, dude, like, come on, man. And I'm not perfect, and I'm never gonna be perfect as a parent, but yeah, like those are definitely, it's just like, I know who acted like in that moment. You know,
right. They're definitely, it's hard to break, man. It's hard to break.
That's true, man. Let's see, content. So listening not to answer, but listening to just listen. That was hard to learn for me. Yeah, that's
probably true for me too.
Yeah,
those are good words right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like even as men, like, we always have something to say, right? Like, we always, like, and sometimes, you know, especially in relationships, like, they just need us to listen. They just need us to, you know, we don't need to have a defense. We don't need to have a response. They just need to just like, let me put this in, download the information. All right, I'll catch you later. All right, you have the file now. Like,
if only it were that easy, man.
I know, dude.
If only it were
you
that
have
easy.
the file, react accordingly now going forward. If only it was. Thanks for sharing that, Clown. That's definitely that's good
awesome
stuff right there. Yeah, and I think and I know for me personally, you know, like within, like, being first married, and like I've never had like really good relationships, especially like communication. And like you said, like when I met my wife, it was instant. Like, she's put up with so much from me, just because, you know, I'm still a work in progress, but everything that I come from. But yeah, that was definitely one thing that I had to realize, like, it doesn't matter if you can beat her in an argument, because I'm pretty, like, I'm a smart ass dude. Like, I can definitely rip someone a new one if I need to. And I had to learn real quick that was the most ineffective thing that I could do.
Right.
And that's hard to navigate, dude, for guys like us who, you know, grew up in this, and now it's like, especially like if you're with someone who is healthy, you know, or like that's not how they communicate, period. Like, getting to that aggressive standpoint or something is just like, okay, this is really doing nothing now.
Yeah. This is the opposite of what we're trying to accomplish.
Like, we're going in reverse at this point. But I thought if I got louder, it would help, but it definitely didn't.
That's it.
Water break.
Louder means better, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Bigger, better.
Yeah, definitely not, man. Definitely not. Composure is key. For sure, that's something I've had to, especially with kids, man. They test your buttons, and I mean, even like you. I mean, you talked about, you know, being in, you know, K through 8, dude. Like, you know, like, you got a taste, dude. I couldn't. And when they're not your kids, man, it's that I couldn't imagine like 15 little pea pant, whatever, like, whiny kids running around, dude.
They all got something they want to tell you.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't give a piss about none of it, just to tell you the truth.
I don't care if your dog switched dog food. Like,
half of it's made up. You know, they just want to tell a bigger story than the kid that just told me a story.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
I mean, they were cute. Don't get me wrong. Like, there were parts of it that I very much enjoyed, and I feel like I did it to learn things, you know.
Yeah.
And but dude, definitely there were days where I was like, good God, I'm gonna snap and kill all these kids, like all of them.
I'm going nuts right now.
All 22 5-year-olds are about to go down.
That's crazy, man. They have amazing little. Yeah, they do. That's at the end of the day, like, that is the fun part. In chat, I'm super reactive, 0 to 100, no in between for me. Yeah, I get that. Like, I still have moments to where I find myself doing that. But I realize, you know, and I know you have a kid as well. I've had to realize at this point, like I have no other choice. Like they're going to be just like me if I don't e-brake it and learn to expect, like, keep calm, you know?
Yeah.
And it's hard. Like there are just situations, and it's a hard balance too, because I never want to lose that side of me, because there is a side of me that goes to that place, and you know, hopefully I never have to, but I know it's there for a reason, just from everything, you know what I mean? It's that little hidden thing that I bury daily, but if I have to use it, I will.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like finding that in between, it's hard, but if you can, it's worth it. Like it's made insane changes in my life, just being able to like, whew, you know, and how I talk to my kids and even friends. Like, you know, I have some personal situations going on right now where I just want to, you know, there's a few people that want to just let it rip, you know, and that's not how I need to approach it. And so, yeah, I just gotta pull myself back and, you know, face it with some grace and realize like that's going to be very ineffective, you know, at least starting out. But yeah, I can't snap. I don't want that.
That's on your behalf, dude, that you realize that, you know.
Well,
like,
I realize.
I mean, realizing it, knowing that like you can't react the way that you always react, you know, like that's growth. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. Not for sure, man. It's definitely. I don't know. And I guess I just think about too. Like I see, especially now, like going, you know, navigating through my life. Like I see the benefits of when I don't go to 0 to 100. You know what I mean? Versus like I see what I grew up in and moments of when I have done that. It's done nothing for me. But then it's just like I see the moments of when I do, you know, calm down or, you know, breathe about it. It's just like, oh man, I actually gained some traction there. So it takes time, you know. Like I said, same thing with you. Things that are just programmed, you know, you're self-aware and you're trying to just keep working at it. But yeah, it's definitely hard. Yeah, huge props to you. Like I said, when you have kids too, it's I mean, for yourself, it's obviously important. But when you have kids, it's just like this whole other world of like, okay, like I can maybe justify it a little bit. You know, I can make some excuse to like, hey, well, you know, I was tired, blah blah blah, and I did that to like my friend or whatever. But it's like now you got like, you know, your USB over here with legs, and it's just like you download that file, it's in them. So it's
dude, that was one thing that I always worried about being a parent was like if I would be too short-tempered, you know, like that was definitely like one of the things that I worried about as a potential parent. Now, clearly I dodged that bullet, but that was one thing that I thought I for sure, like just the way that I grew up, I guess I thought, man, like quick to go off, you know.
But being self-aware and then having that humbling ball of love. And that was like the great, like when I snapped on, you know, my daughter the other day, she's like, it's okay, Dad. I'm just like, I don't deserve this right now. Like, what are you doing? Like, no, I need you. Yeah, man. So it definitely like, definitely that perspective of it. You'd be surprised, man, because I've definitely had my moments, and you know, obviously through my journey and just realizing like everything with my kids that I don't want them to, you know, inherit or at least, you know, have a little bit of, it definitely changes you, man. But yes, sir. But so kind of circling back, that was a big thing. I appreciate you opening up about going through a divorce and kind of where you're at in relationship now. Like, I think if you are struggling out there, you're kind of dealing with the same thing. You know, not telling you which way to run with it, but just, you know, be humble and, you know, look yourself in the mirror and make sure you're doing, just be true to it. Make sure you're communicating. Make sure you are doing what you need to do. Because even if you're with someone who isn't a good communicator, it takes one of you to start kind of, you know, repaving this path. And you'd be surprised when you start changing your reactions to things. Eventually it does start to grab hold. So if you find yourself, or even if you're going through that right now, you know, I just encourage you, don't get sucked up in these things that give you, you know, instant gratification or numb it instantly. You know, just work on yourself and just know that bigger things are ahead. But yeah, again, thank you so much for opening up about that. To kind of circle back around to the entrepreneur side of things, and you know, we'll talk about the brand as well. But I guess as like we've kind of told how you've kind of got in entrepreneurship, what advice would you say to anyone who's maybe stuck in a job right now and they kind of have this idea, kind of like you did, like, hey, maybe this is feasible? What advice would you give to them? Somebody who's scared to take that step off that ledge.
Yeah. So, I think that you have to like test the waters, like see if, whatever your idea is, you figure out a way to do it while you're still doing your job. You know what I mean? See if it's actually something that you even enjoy actually doing. Can I make any money at it? I would definitely like dabble in it a lot before you actually, take the leap. But at some point, you just have to make a decision if the benefits, outweigh the fears, I think is what it is. Because most of the time, like if you've got a solid work ethic, like we mentioned earlier, and I hate to keep like bringing that up, but I think that it's like one of the most important things of all time, especially if you're going to be an entrepreneur. I think that if you just, if you'll just work at it, just refuse to like fail, refuse to fail. And I think that that's like, the rest of it just kind of does its thing, like you have to be open to learning. You have to be, you have to be cognizant of the mistakes that you're making, because if you continue to make the same mistakes, like you're going to fail, you know what I mean? But just keep doing and keep doing right, do right by the folks that you're working with. And it just all seems to like fall into place, but you do just have to kind of walk off that ledge, man.
Yeah. There's definitely a time that you have to, like you said, you have to take that leap. And again, like obviously be smart with it. Make sure that,
for sure,
you can't just like, I'm going to do this, see ya.
Yeah,
but, definitely make sure it's something that you enjoy and it's something that, you are passionate about. And I feel like, I've seen it. If you're passionate about it and you have a drive to make it work, it's not gonna fail. Showing like being passionate about it, showing up every single day and being dedicated to it, eventually like there's no other choice but to gain traction and keep climbing.
You have to be willing to do whatever it takes, I think is what it boils down to at the end of the day. Like even if it means doing things that make you uncomfortable, you know what I mean? Like we all have our strong suits. We all have things that we like to do or that we're good at doing. You should do the things that you don't like to do, And if you'll work on those things, like in regards to the business, like, or to your life or whatever, like that's where you're really going to see strides for sure.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. And that's, I don't know, it's easy to be comfortable. Obviously, because that's nothing's coming in and kind of messing up our peace or what we got going on. But I know for me, defining moments have definitely been when, getting up in front of a group of high schoolers or, challenging myself to do this crazy wedding or whatever it may be. And those moments, they've definitely made me better, and they've bettered my craft. They've bettered what I do. And again, like even in life, certain things like, I should do this with my wife or this with my kids, man. And like, just, outside of like what I grew up in or something that's maybe even foreign to me,
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Make yourself uncomfortable, like that's where the real growth happens for sure.
So yeah, within entrepreneurship, how obviously like there was this time to where it was everything and you're nonstop grinding, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., whatever. How do you find time now, to shut off? Or obviously when you're an entrepreneur, like it doesn't stop to a sense.
Yeah.
Like there's always like, me and you are constantly, it'll be, we're both about to pass out or something. We're texting each other this idea or that. There are certain little things that don't cut off, but how do you maintain like a positive mental state, like a stable mental state, and like self-care, everything within that, so you can keep every single day showing up and doing what you need to do to maintain this?
Yeah, dude. That's hard. And that's just one of the hardest things about life in general, like whether you're doing what you love or chasing your own dream or whether you're just living, like that's one of the hardest things in general. I try to take time like every single morning to like be grateful for things, to be grateful for another chance to like show up, for another chance to do actually what I'm doing. To think about the fact that there's a lot of people who didn't get a chance to be here this morning, and that
Yeah.
you should be grateful that you got another go at it. I don't know, man. It's just, you just have to like be hungry and like keep plugging.
Yeah.
You just got to keep showing up.
I feel that, man. And I know, like, I know personally you've applied, and I think it's important. The time is very scarce, so you just have to be smart with your time. And you have to,
like, you do have to prioritize. Like, you can't, like, I've gotten to the point where I can't work like as much as I used to, and I've realized that I do have to like step away more. But like you say, like it never is completely like turned off. You're never like off work. I'm constantly like seeing things that spark an idea or like whatever. But you definitely have to get to a point where you prioritize, like, you take enough time for you and you take enough time for the people around you. Like one of the hardships for me has been, Amy didn't want me working all the time, and understandably so. There have been times where she's like, hey, like, I've not seen you in, what feels like days, especially like earlier in our relationship, so I've had to learn to like prioritize like the time with her. And also one of the things that really helps me is we try to take like meaningful time for like to get away. I mean, you know that one of the things that I love most is to travel. And so we try to take like these adventures a couple times a year, and that for me like resets my batteries kind of. It usually is a stressor when I come back because I'm overwhelmed with orders, and I get stuff I've got to get ordered, and there's like all these different ducks you got to get in a row. But I've gotten really good at, when I leave, I really kind of try to forget about it.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to be able to do that, and it's still definitely something that I'm working on, but that helps a lot, being able to like take the time when you need the time. It's very admirable to stay on the grind, but the reality of it is that at some point like you'll break if you don't give yourself those moments, and those moments might be a day or two, or as long as you need sometimes.
That's something that I've had to chill out with my personality. I'm super proactive. Just I'm insane with things, and that's something that I've definitely tried to. I definitely have to prioritize, my wife, and that's something that I've tried to get better at, just like you have. With your relationship, and also like with my kids, like I have to realize, like, Superman's got to sleep too. So Superman's got to. And it's important. I think that's an important part of life. Even if like you're not an entrepreneur, like it's important to pull yourself away and actually shut down. And that's and sometimes you gotta shut down fully, or you have to create habits. Like for me, I'm trying to get better at like completely disassociating with like my phone, and like at least like for like 30 minutes to an hour, just completely unplugging every single day, whether it's like at night after I finish, especially because I'm around it all day long, like with all the marketing stuff and everything, and like editing. Like I'm pretty technologically involved with my life.
Hard, man. Like, I think that we're all guilty of it, and we all feel like we want to like reduce it, but we like use it for everything now. Like everything that we used to do on a computer, we do on our phones.
I mean that's true, man. So I definitely I find myself trying to pull away, and like you said, man, it's important, except just little habits in the morning. Like sometimes I'll just wake up, for me I'll read my Bible and drink a cup of coffee, and like I said, just listen to the birds sing in the morning, or I'll just kind of like just wake up and just be grateful for another day, and just spend time, whether it's listening to some music or just whatever it may be. And those moments definitely help me. I
like to be outside, like as the sun comes up. Like those moments when the when the world's coming alive, man, it's really easy to be grateful in those moments.
Yeah. Well, it's just like when you, I don't know, because again, like like I am thankful for the opportunity of technology, and of course, like that's what allows me to do all these different things and supports my life. But there's just something about just unplugging, man, and just living in the moment for like 15 minutes, if anything, and just really taking in like the wind and breath and life and everything else, man. So yeah, you nailed that though, and that's something that I'm definitely trying to get better with, and I'm sure a lot of viewers struggle with, because it is too, like, we feel like we have to, when we're not grinding, we feel like we have to like do everything right, or we have to soak up everything that we can. Like, oh, we were at work for 8 hours, so time to catch up on social media or trying to do this, and it's just like next thing you know, it's like 11 o'clock, dude. And you're just like, rinse and repeat, man. Like, where was the time for you to just like have that perspective? I'm guilty of it. I definitely, that TikTok university investment, still gets me every now and then, that, oh, it's 2 a.m. Why am I over here?
Yeah. So yeah, dude, it's easy to do, man. It's so easy to do.
At least it's like, I feel like TikTok's at least beneficial. I mean, it's kind of just getting a little sidebar, but I feel like TikTok definitely, like, if you have a good For You page, like you could, like mine, if you go down it, it's like a lot of faith-based stuff, a lot of motivational stuff, and then a lot of like home building projects. So I just like get down this rabbit hole of stuff, dude, and I'm just like sponging everything.
And they're super good at their algorithm. Too.
Yeah,
like they figure out what you want to see, and then they're like, oh yeah, well here's this, and here's this, and here's this, and the next thing you know, like you say, it's like 2 a.m. and you're like, 3 hours later.
3 hours later. That's hilarious, man. Do you recall one of the most defining moments for you as an entrepreneur, good and bad, if you want to answer both of those?
There's been moments where I hit like milestones, maybe like I had for myself, like I remember one moment that I was like super proud of myself was, I had a $10,000 month, I think. I'd set this goal that like I wanted to do 10 grand in a month. I would just set myself these little like incremental kind of goals. And I remember that, like, one of them was I want to do 10 grand a month. And then when that happened, it was like, it was like a huge accomplishment to me. It was like I'd hit a home run. I remember being like super proud of myself. And I think that's even when I rewarded myself to start like my sleeve tattoo, because I had this deal going with myself. Like, if you ever do this, like, we'll go ahead and take a little bit of money and you can go ahead and get some ink,
Yeah, dude.
So I think that was like, I don't know, that's maybe not a defining moment. That's just something that I remember like being like really proud of myself in that moment, like other things would be like, getting contracts that I had like not sort of dreamed about, but felt like they were the standard, if you get this contract, that means that you're a legit business. You know what I mean? You're not working in your basement now. Like, you're a legit business once you get like these contracts, like school contracts or stuff like that. And so I remember those being like pivotal moments when I, would land those contracts. I don't know, as far as like negative moments, like, it really sucks whenever you mess up like a whole big order, what I mean? And it really like brings back that you have to like slow down and like double check and triple check, and somehow we still get it wrong.
That's just the perks, man, of being like, I don't know, it's that comfortable thing, man. Like, you do it for so long. I don't know.
Sure.
And you get in a groove, like a production type of business. Like, obviously there are certain things that aren't like, they got to be pretty thorough, but when you're on production, man, it's definitely easy to overlook stuff.
Dude, when you turn into a zombie over there when you're printing, like if you're the paddle man, dude, it's you have to, like, you turn into a robot.
Zombie motion.
You get like this this rhythm going, and you just rock and roll back there for hours on end, man.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. It's so true though. Props
really
to the team, man, because they I couldn't.
Oh, for sure.
I'm good at production, but I can't, like, I'm too ADD.
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It's just like I gotta move or something, bro. So big
Well,
props to the team that makes it happen, dude.
I mean, I'm probably pretty ADHD too, or ADD, or whatever, or all the above. I don't know. But what really helped me was when I was mostly doing it all, I was still having to like run back and forth.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
true.
So I was like printing a few and then like going and doing a hat and like printing a few and going and doing this. But yeah, Josh, he's a machine, man. He just stands there.
Legend.
Yeah, all day, dude.
I guess what maybe like helps somewhat though is at least it's like new designs pretty much. Like,
yeah, and it definitely makes a difference. Whenever you're like, if you have to print the same thing for like 4 days, like that sucks. I mean, it's great for the pocketbook because that means it was a huge order.
Yeah,
but
at the same time,
as far as the print man, the paddle man, nah, dude, that blows because you get so tired of seeing like nothing changes. The color of the shirt,
color, yeah, dude.
The ink's the same, like the artwork's the same. Like it really kind of turns into a real monotonous thing whenever you got to do like 800, 900, 1,000. Yeah.
Jeez, bro. Yeah. Not for me, man. Not for me. But
and we don't have the luxury of having an automatic press. They go a lot faster when you got an automatic press. But we don't have that kind of cheddar yet.
Speaking it to existence, man.
Absolutely.
That's awesome, dude. What how do you stay how do you stay motivated? Obviously, like this is your baby. You've built it, and now it's allowed you to live this life of, like you don't have to answer to anybody. You get to, whatever you want to do with it, you get to do. The time off, everything else. How do you stay like motivated when things aren't good? Like when you do come back from vacation and stuff has just hit the fan. I mean, what kind of helps keep you resilient and motivated through those times?
Dude, honestly, just as of late, I've realized that I'm gonna get tested. Like after the good times, like you're gonna get tested. You know, like I just get suspicious when things are good because it's almost like, okay, so now what? You just like, I don't know. I just almost expect it now. I just almost think that like the negative is just around the corner, and so that when it happens, it's not like devastating. And honestly, to stay motivated, I just realized that I have to keep working, because it is my lifeblood. Because, and honestly, it's a lot easier now because we see growth, like we're seeing strides. Like it's easier now for me than it probably ever has been because like things are getting better. Like I see the brand growing, and that's what's really motivating me. The team's holding down the production stuff. Like we're good on that front. But like now it's easy to be motivated because things are rolling, I think that it's much harder to stay motivated when you're in those growth stages, like when things are tough. Not to say that I don't struggle, because I mean, clearly I still have days where I'm like, shoot, like, are we doing the right thing? Like, I not waste, but like there's a big investment here, like there's money that I could be spending somewhere else. Am I putting it in the right place? But at the end of the day, like I see the growth, I see the strides that it's making. And so it helps keep me like hungry, you know what I mean?
And obviously like that's probably, I mean, this all just kind of rounds back to like the patience, that you've been working on. And because you've been working on that and applying that to your life, like now it's starting to influence, you know, the work, but also the environment. Like I feel like if, you being in there every single day and like, eventually like you're going to clear air maybe when it's not clear, you know what I mean? Like you're going to start impacting, the team and everyone else who is there, and like, so there's just so many things like in life in general, when you do apply patience, it definitely is a contagious thing.
For sure, dude. For sure. It's definitely like there's definitely been opportunities presented to myself. Like I remember texting you a couple weeks ago, like something had went wrong and you were like, dude, how are you handling it? And I was like, dude, it's just, I know it's a test, man. I know it's a test.
And that mentality, like, I mean, just from, you had an incident a while back and like just really changing your mentality and perspective from that, man, like you just look at like the success and everything that's kind of followed suit from that.
For sure. That was probably like the turning point. That may have been like the negative turning point was when I broke my hand because I flew off the handle coming back from vacation. That may have been like the negative turning point of my entrepreneurial journey, just because I realized immediately, like, that was super dumb. Like, you shouldn't have done that. And I realized what it cost me, both from I had to pay for it out of my pocket, plus like now how much slower is business because you did this, I realized that there was a lot more riding on me. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Nah, perspective, man.
Yeah, sorry, to circle back to that. Yeah.
Nah, bro. Nah, man. And personally, I'm proud of you, man. Like I said, I've seen that growth, man, and just seeing like it affecting your life, just from like we talk about pretty much every single day now, man. It's just that one little change, that one little thing that can make or break you, dude. And now it's just like when these little things happen, like when we're in there trying to do content and everything's flying off and paint and whatever else, like it's just the mentality, man. It's the way you approach it and how you handle it.
Dude, I've just had to get really good at like managing chaos because like you go in with what you think you can get done in a day, and you just try to get one of those things done. Is honestly how it goes.
Yeah, if I can get this, like I want to get these, but if I can get this,
I got like 15 on the list. If I get 2, that's solid, homie. That is
day.
Good.
We good?
Yeah,
that's awesome, dude.
Yeah. It just be like that. Like you just go in with a plan and then it just all unravels sometimes.
Yeah, dude. I've seen it firsthand. I definitely understand, bro.
It's wild, man. It's wild.
Dude, that's awesome.
It's fun,
man.
though. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah. Man, so entrepreneurship, dude, it's I know it's changed your life drastically. It's changed mine too. Are there any other maybe things that we haven't talked about within entrepreneurship, or any advice that you want to throw out there pertaining entrepreneurship to anyone, or any big points or anything?
Man, I would just, I think that entrepreneurship is for everybody, honestly. I mean, maybe it's not for everybody, but I think that everybody should at least throw around the idea.
Yeah.
Because I do think that if you approach it the right way, you could probably be any type of person and own your own business and probably do it quite successfully. I feel like there's a way that you could do something and stay motivated for yourself, so I would recommend that everybody at least think about it, sit and have some thought about it, because there is a lot of benefit to it. There's a ton of benefit to it. Being your own boss, and if you just wake up one day and you don't feel like doing anything, you kind of don't have to, you don't have to call anybody, and there's a lot of good to it, man. But definitely it will teach you patience, I think.
Yeah.
You will either fail or it will teach you patience, because it's a long road to hoe for most of us.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen immediately, so you have to be patient.
Yeah. That's true, man. It's the journey's, it's a process, man. And like we've talked a lot about, a lot of people just expect that instant gratification, and that's not it at all. Like it's something that you have to show up, that consistency. You have to work in a building with a heater, with no AC, like different things like that. Like that's just the sacrifice, but what the reward of it is so worth it. Like you said, calling in sick, like you have to get permission to be sick and rest. Like that's one of the biggest things, like, and especially working in retail for so long, man, like you feel like I could not stand that. I felt so guilty when I would miss like one day a year, and it was just like, hey, I'm legit dying over here. I'm really sorry I can't be in today. Like I'm so sorry. I will make it up to you. I'm human. I can't ever be sick. Like, I can't stand that, bro. And looking back now, those are one of the things, and especially having kids, it's like hi, I'd like to get permission to go watch my kid play, or I'm gonna miss it. You know, like it's nuts to me, dude. It's so like
Yeah.
those are the things that really, you know, changed my life with it. Was again just I'll never forget the guilt of just having to call out, and it's like something like it's
Yeah.
legit.
Yeah, like legit, you feel bad, you're sick, you've been throwing up all night, like I can't come in there, I'm not gonna get anything done, I'm just gonna be throwing up all
And
day.
then you get
And then you
the
feel like ridiculed.
yeah, dude, and you get ridiculed, and you get like that passive aggressive like, oh well, you know, like if someone would have been here, then it's just like dude, yeah, dude. No way, brother.
No thanks, brother.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, that's when you said that made me think, man, the benefits of it, I couldn't imagine now. Like that's why I was like, I don't think I'm ever gonna be able to work for someone else, man, because to call you to I mean, is it cool if I go to the bat? Like, dude, I'm not a kid, man. I don't know. It's just nuts, dude. Like, I understand, like, there's responsibility, but, like, there's a line, man. And that, to feel like you can't be sick or to have that guilt and to just feel like you do with it, yeah, dude,
Yeah. Nah, it would be hard for me to go back to working for somebody else, So that's one of the things that keeps me motivated.
Yeah. Like things get tight, and you're like, I may have to, but it's like, actually, no. Yeah. Like we're gonna make it work, dude, because I am not doing that.
I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
That's so crazy, dude. I forgot about that. I forgot about that for myself. Again, like when you do it so long, like you just kind of forget that you did used to work for somebody. And when you said that, it was just like PTSD almost of those days of that text or that call to let them know. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's the worst, man.
That guilt, I'll never forget that guilt, dude. Like that ashamed guilt because I was sick for like once in my life and I couldn't go open the store or something, dude.
As a teacher, sometimes you would have to like call your own substitute.
Yeah, that's
you would have to find your own coverage.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of crazy too, but whatever.
That is wild, dude. Like again, like I understand, like you're in this role, like you have to, but at the same time, it's like you got to realize with life, man. That's why I know, and this is kind of getting off topic a little bit, but when I was in retail and stuff, like I had so many people who were amazed when I was like approving time off like that. It was like, yeah, I don't care. Like I remember getting yelled at because it was, I think, a holiday or something like that, and it was an important one of the ladies wanted to do something important with her mom or whatever, and I think it was maybe Mother's Day or something, and I approved it. I was like, yeah, like go do it. Like I will take care of this, and I got in trouble for that, and I was just like, dude, like this
nonsense.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And she was so happy, man. It made her year that she was able to do that. She didn't have to stress. I was just, yeah, like I got you, and
she probably remembers you as one of the best bosses she ever had.
Oh, I got told that when I was leaving, dude. You know, when I was because I kind of had like some health issues too. And again, a lot of it was just from the stress and everything else of that. But yeah, when I stepped away, man, that was like everyone said that. And I was like, yeah, I treated you guys like people, and that I definitely learned, obviously, like coming out of that stage and everything, I definitely realized a lot of those things with that and why entrepreneurship's for me.
For sure.
And I probably work harder now than I did anyway then, like maybe not as physical because trucks and all that, in retail, but as far as like, managing everything, like,
oh yeah,
a lot going on, dude. But yeah, man. So we're gonna start kind of wrapping this thing down. So I know, personally, like you always thought it'd be dope to be a millionaire, and like now success is totally different. Kind of walk me through like the transition of, entrepreneurship and what success used to be to you, and kind of what that means now.
Yeah. So I just as a kid, I just always think that my goal was to be successful. And I didn't really even know what that meant. You know what I mean? To me, I think that success meant to be able to like pay my parents out of debt. For like a long time as a kid, like I I had this fairy tale of like, I would, my parents, the factory workers, I would be able to like pay off their debt and like ride them off into the sunset, into this retirement, um, and as an adult, like I thought that there was a number, like I thought like you said, that I wanted to be a millionaire. Now it's like, I just want to be successful enough to where I can live the life that I want to live. And for me personally, like, I think that the response would be different for anybody, but for me personally, like, I want to be able to do this and continue to grow this and just be able to travel a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, that's it for me. And so there's not a number that defines it. Like, success to me is now, am I able to do the things that I want to do the way that I want to do them?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think that for a lot of society, it's about like class or something. It's about like status, like, I want to have this like 8,000 square foot house, or I want to have like all this stuff. And like, if that's your thing, like, that's fine, whatever, but it doesn't have to be that,
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to chase that lifestyle to be successful. You don't have to like, if you're a millionaire, you don't have to do those things, like, and I just think that like, there's so much like misconception that goes on in the world through like social media, and like, we're so plugged into everything, we see everything. But to me, success now would be, I want to make enough money to be able to travel a little bit more and continue to do what I love and make a true impact on the world, to be able to make more money to invest back into it so that we can impact more people, so that we can grow this thing, so that we can reach more folks, so that we can do more things, like, I would love to go talk to a high school group every single day.
Yeah.
I'd love to, because if, like I said, if you inspire one kid, like, that's perfect. But unfortunately, like, I have to be at the shop, working every day. So it would be awesome if it would get to the point where, like, to me, I think that's success, where I can do more like goodwill kind of things towards the brand. And also like do things internationally, man. Like, being able to travel internationally has really like touched me personally, and made me appreciate things in my personal life a lot more. So I want to be able to, continue to have new experiences and encounter new cultures and people, and do those kinds of things, all while continuing to grow this. That's success for me.
Yeah. And that's just value, man. And I've been following someone on TikTok for the past couple months, and it's this guy, and he walks up, he finds these older people on the beach, and he asks them, he asks how old they are, and they said, if you could change one thing or whatever about your life, or maybe, what would you have done differently? And so many of them say financial, like chasing the dollar, and then just like status, they talk about now how it's like some people have like sold everything, and they just live, with what they mean, and they just have experiences and try to get back to where they can, and again, everyone's life is different. If you want to drive a Lambo, like, that's awesome, do your thing. But I definitely think there's a lot of value in being able to give back, and creating memories, and focusing on people instead of those things. But again, to each their own. But that's I'm pretty much the same way, man. I don't know. I've never set my expectations high, in the sense of I never saw money in that way, and the fact that like making more money than like I know my parents ever have, even at my age, is definitely just like, okay, like, and now kind of like you said, I just want to somewhat be comfortable, and just to be able to do some stuff and create memories with my wife and my family, and be able to give back and serve other people, man. I think that's the real value and the simplicity of what life can be.
Absolutely.
Heck yeah, dude. Well, for those of you who are out there, so if you have any questions you want to ask, we're going to kind of wind this thing down. And dude, I want to kind of finish off. Q&A is open, so if anyone does want to ask anything, feel free to do so. But let's dive into the brand a little bit, and we'll kind of close out, man. Just this week, and I don't know. I know for me personally, like this new launch, man, it was pretty awesome, dude. Just to see all the support, and like you said, just keeping this thing growing, man. How has it been for you? What's is where we're at kind of what you expected, and how was your vision kind of come to life with it? You know, like this beast within thing that is now turned into Renegade Supply and is now like really taking traction on the world.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's been super cool. Like you said, the launch was better, I think, than like we even expected.
Yeah.
I try to be very realistic about it, you know, and I understand like where we are, but you know, like it was awesome. And I went over today and I packed up all those orders, and you know, I was just amazed. Like when I laid them all out there, I was like, holy cow, like this is a lot. You know, like I got a lot of thank you to write, which is a good problem to have. You know,
absolutely.
And it's for sure like headed in the direction that I wanted it to, you know, like I wanted to motivate people, you know, and in that time, like maybe it had a little bit more of like a fitness vein, but as it evolved, like I realized that like you don't just get inspired in fitness, like you can inspire people in all manner of life, you know, and like just to take the chance or to roll the dice or to do the thing, whatever it is, you know, whether, I mean, it could be quitting a job and making a career change, but maybe it's not, you know? And so like, it's cool that since you and I have started work together and then through the spring launch, like it's really starting to like hone in, we're starting to build the community aspect. You know, as this thing grows more and more, we'll be able to like do more goodwill sort of stuff, you know, and give back and maybe go talk to some more high school kids. And it's definitely headed in the spot where I've dreamed that it would be, you know. Actually, it's probably headed in a better direction because at the time I never dreamed about the sense of community. You know what I mean? And since bringing you on board, like you and I sort of like brainstormed together and built the idea of the community and being able to, I think that I said something one day, I was like, we're more than a t-shirt, we're a family or something like that. And like, it kind of stuck from that moment. And we were like, dude, like, let's really build this as like a supportive kind of place, you know, not just as an apparel brand, but as like, you know, people that care about each other. And sort of that was an aspect that I was missing. You know, I was thinking about just the cool t-shirts. And you know, when we joined forces together on that, it feels like that's made a big difference, you know, that we really are focused on doing something positive and that the universe is kind of rewarding it. It's awesome.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. And I love just, again, you know, from first photo shoot and just kind of seeing, you know, like puzzle pieces scattered about, you know, and it's been an honor for me, obviously, to come aboard and to see all this potential that's, you know, been trying to seep out, you know, and it's been awesome to help pull that out. And, you know, also too, like it's to bring everything that I come with and be able to pour it into it, but also get influenced by it, man. It's definitely been an awesome journey. Yeah, man, I'm just, like I said, I'm mind blown. So for those who are listening, make sure you go check out the brand, Renegade Supply Company. Like I said, where then this is just kind of a piece within that, you know, that's what I love about this. You know, this is kind of stuff we talk about within the brand, just real life stuff, different, you know, challenges, whether it's entrepreneurship, relationship, whatever it may be. You know, this is kind of a message that's preached across everything. To be honest, it's something that we're really passionate about.
Sure.
But yeah, man, is there anything else that you want to add? Any encouragement to anyone? Life in general, entrepreneurship, any last words before we wrap this thing up?
Well, dude, first and foremost, I want to thank you, like, for my life's just been better since you've been in it, honestly, man. And I'll try to hold it together, but but for real, like, you know, the brand is taking off. Like, I'm a better person. Like, you're just genuinely like one of the best people I know, and I appreciate everything that you do for me and for the brand, dude. And like, you're just genuinely a great guy and like the best dad I know. And I'm just stoked to be in your life, man, and for you to be part of mine. And you know, for everybody that's listening, you know, like I would just say, like, it's scary, but you know, just do it. Just you know, to quote Nike, like, just do it, man.
Just do it.
Step off the ledge and you know, and just swim. Like it's not sink or swim, man. It's swim. you don't have a choice, like you just have to accept that. And once you do, and like you're okay with the struggle, you have to be okay with the struggle.
Yeah.
Just realize that it's a journey, it's a process. It's all the things that we've said, like the whole time, man. We've reiterated a whole lot of points, but it's just keep going and stay hungry and surround yourself with good people, and
Yep.
And just freaking keep going.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, like that's it,
Absolutely. Yeah, guys. Like I said, just believe in yourself. Don't let fear stop you. It's easy to listen to family members or friends or whatever that just kind of put that negative bug in your ear, say like, yo, you're stupid for that, you can't do that, no way, whatever. Like, just believe in yourself. It starts with you, and I know me personally, I've had that. I know to this day Mark still has that, and at the end of the day, like it's the person that, that reflection in the mirror. So if you do the true work, and if you do or not, if you're putting in true work, you'll see that. It may take time. You got to be patient with the process, but good things will happen if you're honest with it, and if you put in the work.
Absolutely.
So yeah, well, awesome, guys. Well, man, again, thank you so much for being on this thing. Obviously, I know a lot of the personal things, but it's exciting to just have you share a lot of your story for the people who do tune in and watch this thing, because again, this is real life stuff. And that's the biggest goal here, is to just impact you guys. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for supporting this thing. Thank you for, all the support. Just trying to, like I said, I don't expect this thing to blow up. If it does, cool. But tell your friends, because at the end of the day, if we can impact one person and change their life, that's definitely the goal here. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. And I will catch you guys next time. Much love to everybody. Till then.